Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Scarfey Spurs Talks match reaction to the Brighton Tottenham game yesterday. Before I do bring everyone in, I just want to say our thoughts and prayers do go out to everyone in Liverpool at present. It has been announced it was a 53-year-old white male from Liverpool, so that is at least something that we do have information on. I do apologise for us being late. I was speaking to my mate who was at the parade. Luckily, he's safe as well. So, big thoughts and prayers to everyone in Liverpool at this time. And we don't support any violence or aggravation towards anyone. We are football fans. We have celebrated. We had our parade Friday. They was having theirs Monday, so they should be able to appreciate and enjoy this as much as they like. Obviously on a more, well, I would say it's a nice note, but this is going to be more of a therapy podcast again, because we are coming back to it on the back of another loss in the Premier League. I hope my panel will be able to boost me up a little bit in this respect. So, Nige, I'm going to come straight to you, mate. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, big up, Kallum. I'm doing good, thanks, mate. I echo everything you've already said, and yeah, big up Connor, big up Phillip, and big up chat.
Lovely stuff, mate. And Phillip, obviously coming to us straight from Germany tonight, mate. I know you're back on your way from dinner, so really appreciate you jumping on for tonight with us. So how you doing?
Yeah, all good. Thanks for having me on. Big up to all of you guys as well. Yeah, it's obviously been a crazy last few days in the Spurs world. And as you said, I think it's going to be a mixture of therapy tonight and hopefully some positivity, but probably also a bit of reflection about how we move forward, I think.
No, exactly. Completely right, mate. And Connor, thanks for coming on, mate. I know you was on your way home when we was in the green room, so I'm glad you made it back as well. A little delay actually helped you. So how you doing, man?
Yeah, back home now, out of breath a little bit, but yeah, I'm still feeling pretty good from last week.
No, exactly, mate. Exactly. We did have that feel good all the way up until probably about 45 minutes into that game yesterday. So it is an interesting one. But obviously, we won Wednesday. We had our parade Friday. I think everyone's had a lot of sugar. There goes me mic. Sorry about that. Everyone's had a lot of drink. I think by the look of it, I'm still drunk after that, with everything falling over on me as well. But we know that the feel-good factor was there. Ange made his speech saying that the third season will be even better. Which is a 50-50 for, I think, every Spurs fan in that respect. We had a lot of players who were celebrating 3 nights in a row. We had all the first team who were over 18 in Mayfair for at least one night. We had Mikey Moore and a lot of the others in Cheshunt and Broxbourne in a number of local pubs to Hotspur Way. Whether they were drinking or not, we can't confirm or deny it. I don't think that's our business to know, because they can still enjoy it and have fun as well. Big up to our medical team to actually get as many players as I thought we would through in from that. They probably pumped them through with IV bags, everything like that, to actually manage to even just get them onto the team bus for Sunday. But we did do our review show Saturday night. We was still drunk. We were still hyped up, everything like that. But unfortunately, the 4 of us get the fun of another Premier League loss. 22 out of a possible 38 games that we've lost. So, Nige, I'm going to come straight to you. And the game yesterday, I mean, we discussed it a couple of nights ago on the preview and said that we thought that maybe it'd be a weakened team, different players coming in, maybe getting a little bit of run in their legs as they haven't. But it was quite a strong team that he went with. So what was your thoughts when the team sheet was announced?
I'll be honest, I was quite surprised when I saw the team sheet. Pleasantly surprised, because, personally for me, I wanted to go out with a bang. I wanted to go out with a win, keep that confidence up and, into next season. So I was pleasantly surprised when I saw the team. Obviously, I'm sure we'll get into the game, but they obviously run out of legs in the second half. But yeah, when I first saw the team, I was quite happy with it.
No, that's fair. And Phillip, if I can come to you, down that right-hand side, we had Pedro Porro and Brennan Johnson. They were two of the worst people for the amount of drink they must have had in them last 3 days. Was you surprised to see them named on that team sheet?
Sorry, are we coming to me then?
Yeah, sorry, Phil. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. I was a bit surprised, if I'm being honest. I thought that, I mean, they were clearly having a good time on Friday, and I won't begrudge it against them, right? But I was a bit surprised. I thought that maybe Jed Spence would play on the right, or even Archie Gray, maybe for Porro. And yeah, I was surprised by the team selection actually, because and it still meant, I think, quite a lot to the fans, you know, to kind of turn up at the last game of the season and try and get 3 points, try and maybe not finish 17th. But I personally, I thought it might be a good opportunity to play a bit of the youth. You know, I thought Ajayi and, you know, Mikey, you know, haven't really played since they scored in the Europa League all those months ago, really. And I thought, well, maybe they can actually get a bit of a game. So I was surprised by the strength of the team, actually. I didn't expect it to be that strong. I know there was a couple of players completely missing, Romero and Bentancur, who I don't think anyone's seen since Friday. So I hope they're okay. But yeah, I was surprised by the strength of the team. I thought he would go a bit different. I thought he would, you know, even play, you know, not play Johnson and probably play, you know, more or Odebert on the right, you know, or play Tell from the beginning anyways as well. Maybe even give Lancashire a go as well. So yeah, bit surprising to me, actually.
No, that's completely fair, mate. And Connor, do you echo what Nige and Phillip have both said, that you was quite surprised by the strength of the lineup? And was there anyone that you might have thought could have had a chance in there instead of some of the first team players?
Yeah, I'm the same. I imagine most of our fans probably would have been surprised. I agree with Phillip. I really think we should have played some of the younger players. So obviously, those guys have been drinking literally since Wednesday, so they would have stopped on Saturday. That literally would have been when they stopped drinking. So yeah, and especially like you say, the likes of Johnson and Porro, really don't think. I don't know. I just think the youth, even if there was a couple of the stronger players, but I can understand why maybe we would have picked a full strength team, because obviously, you know, like you say, you want to try not to finish 17th, because at one point, if results went our way and we had the right goal difference, we'd finished 14th, I think, instead. And obviously, I know that's not way better, but it's kind of takes away from that one place above relegation.
No, exactly. I mean, from the team that did start on Wednesday night in the final, there were 3 changes with Matthias Tell, Archie Gray and Kevin Danso coming into the lineup to replace Son Heung-min, who was out with a foot injury, Romero foot injury as well, and Yves Bissouma dropping to the bench. So there was at least 2 youngsters on there, but they are people who have featured more than probably we would have thought they would have done this season. But no, it was definitely a strong lineup in respect of that. And Brighton also going strong with Minter and Digra, Ayari, Gruder, Vifer. I mean, I've probably completely slaughtered his name, so I'm sorry.
Mats Vifer.
Mats Vifer. Okay, dokie. Balaba, Julio, Webster, Van Hecker, Hinselwood, and Verbruggen in goal. So quite a lot of first team players for Brighton as well. Obviously, Spurs did take an early lead on 17th minutes with Solanke. The celebrations were rocking, and everyone seemed to be up and celebrating in the stadium. I mean, Connor, I'm going to come to you again. What did you think of the celebrations around this goal and the sort of celebrations throughout this first period of the game as well?
It's going to be a mixture of, obviously you've just gone a goal up, but at the same time, it's just another reason to party again. It's just extended celebration from Wednesday is the way I see it.
No, that's definitely fair. Obviously, then just before half time, we did have the chance to go 2-0 up, but Brighton did have a number of chances in there. Phillip, what did you think of the chance where I believe it was Benton caused? Oh, I will add Phillip back in. There we go. So yeah, Bentoncourt did have a chance to, I believe, score just before half time. What did you make of that chance? And did it look like they were just running on steam by that time as well?
Yeah, I think it looked. I mean, they looked like they were running on steam. I don't think they, looked like they had the full power. Bentoncourt should have made that chance, right? I think there was another chance in that first half. I can't remember now if it was Tell or someone else, but there was another good chance in that first half that I thought we should have scored, and it did look like we were a bit tired. Yeah, I think we actually played quite well in that first half. I think in the first sort of 30 minutes of that half, I was actually surprised how well we played. Probably didn't expect us to play that well. We were kind of passing and moving quite well. We gave quite a good account of ourselves up until that point. One thing I would say is, our goal came from a penalty again, and someone was throwing out a stat about how many goals Solanke scored this season. I think he got 16 in all competitions.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a large chunk of that was from penalties. If you break down the stats, and I think that's another thing to look at for next season as well. Like, how effective is Solanke as a striker? But my viewpoint is I think he can be a lot better for us, and I actually think that the system is not really playing to his strengths because he never really looks like he gets in scoring chances, and I don't really blame him for that. I don't think personally, but look, I mean, at the end of the day, this game was a game where we came off such a big high on Wednesday, right? That probably a lot of us didn't even expect to happen. Really, in the deepest of our hearts, like we probably hoped that we would win. We didn't think we would win. We managed to make it happen. The players went out celebrating. We all went out celebrating, and we had to play one final game, right, in the league. For me, though, I was just very disappointed as to where it finished up. But we haven't talked about the second half yet, so I won't talk about it yet. But I would say the first half was actually quite solid.
No,
But,
that's
move on to the second half and ask one of the other guys about it first, and then I'll give you my thoughts on.
No,
afterwards.
that's definitely fair, right? So it was half time came around, and we did go in with a controlled 1-0 lead. I would say I think is the best and nicest way of doing it. On half time, we did take off Pape Matar and bring on Wilson Odobert. Theoretically in a straight 10 for 10 swap because it seemed that Matar was playing as the more advanced out of Gray and Bentoncourt yesterday. Nige, unfortunately, I've got to come to you to give you the second half on this one, mate. And let's put it this way. That was a tough 15 minutes, wasn't it? I think we got brought down to earth a little bit, and what a shit show that was. Can you talk me through how we managed to gift Hinselwood 2 goals from set pieces again, please, mate?
That's been a disappointing thing, isn't it? Because we've been pretty good at set pieces on the whole this season. We've conceded a few, but yeah, just shocking. I honestly think the first half, I think the crowd maybe helped Tottenham get through it. And I think maybe Brighton were a little caught off guard by the celebrations. And once the manager got into them at halftime, they come out a totally different side. And sadly, we either run out of steam or didn't look at the races at all. But it was chalk and cheese from the first half. And let's be honest, Brighton could have scored more. it was a terrible second half performance.
No, exactly, mate. It was a bit. There's a bit of an arse. Let's put it that way. Well, the nicest way of putting it is that this game brought it back into reality a little bit. I don't think it all wore off, but I don't think it was the worst. Connor, I'm going to come to you in a bit, mate, just on Ange and his future, because I believe you've only seen highlights for the game, haven't you, mate? So, Phillip, I'm going to come to you with this one. And there's this saying, will the real Slim Shady please stand up? This one is, will the real Yves Bissouma please stand up? And it seems that Bissouma was back to his old self, giving away he was caught out by Udogie playing a shit ball to Spence. Spence not being even bothered to run back. Udogie doing his muscling by the look of it. And then the real Yves Bissouma decided to do one of his rash and altruistic tackles, taking out someone in the box. Is this the real Yves Bissouma now that we're seeing? And was it just he played a little bit better in Europe?
I mean, Yves Bissouma came in from nowhere, really, didn't he? Before the Frankfurt games or game, I can't remember if he played both legs of Frankfurt, but he certainly played one of the games, didn't he? And then he played both of the Bodo Glimt games and obviously the final. And he was out of favour for a long time. He came back in. To be fair, I think he looked quite good in those games, but I mean, you'd have to also say that we essentially parked the bus, right, in all of those games, and that's a different kind of game for Bissouma. He didn't have to get on the ball and kind of make things happen. He could just sit there alongside Bentancur and Sarr, and maybe Kulusevski in one of the games before he got injured. Potentially Bergvall in the Frankfurt game, I think. But he didn't really have to do much. He could quite easily deal with the challenges that were facing. And if I'm being honest, I think we've got to be honest here. We beat Bodo Glimt in the semis over 2 games. Bodo Glimt, yeah, they've beaten some good teams in Europe this season, but they're Bodo Glimt. They're not a top 12 Premier League team. Right, we beat them over 2 legs. We didn't thrash them over 2 legs. We did enough over 2 legs, and the game in Norway wasn't icy. It wasn't -6 degrees. It was like 10 degrees, right? Yeah, it was on a plastic pitch.
Yeah,
but we almost went out again. We were what? We were one good finish away from going out against. Was it Tamworth, right? Tamworth. Yeah, was it Tamworth? I can't remember. We played now, but we were one finish away. One good finish from them going out of that cup, right, months ago. And I think we got to be honest here. Bissouma looked good against a Bodo Glimt team who probably were also tired, right, out of all of these rounds and everything else. Their season's out of sync with ours. Even in the final, we parked the bus. Bissouma looked all right in the final, but against Frankfurt, he looked all right as well. Frankfurt, to be frank, and I live in Frankfurt, right? I go to a lot of the Eintracht Frankfurt games, and Frankfurt didn't really turn up for those games, if I'm being honest. I predicted that we wouldn't beat Frankfurt, and we were quite lucky that a couple of their main kind of driving players weren't playing in both of those games. And, they had chances to equalise or to win, So I think what I'm just trying to say is, Bissouma has hardly turned up out of nowhere and suddenly stepped up a level. I think he's come into a team where he's had to, and he's done all right, and he's kind of made himself look all right in those games. But that's probably based on the fact that we haven't really even tried to really do much in those games, and we've really been quite passive, not intelligently passive, but just passive, because we're well, we don't know how to open up teams, so we're just going to sit there and try not to concede, right? We'll start playing the ball longer. which is okay. So again, to go back to the original question, I think we have seen the real Basuma. But I would also question around the fact and say that Basuma was a quality player when he was at Brighton.
Yeah,
he was one of the Premier League's probably best midfielders for about 2 seasons. And
Spurs do seem to have a habit, don't they, of turning the best players in the Premier League into very mediocre or not playing them as how they're meant to be played.
Ineffective, I would say. Ineffective. Basuma doesn't seem to be effective or comfortable in what we do and in our system. And again, I'm not going to go into this in detail right now because there's other discussions to be had. But I don't particularly blame Basuma for it. Although I would say in the end, he probably obviously character-wise, maybe, he's maybe not good enough for us in the longer run. But he's obviously been a good player in the Premier League. And I actually believe that the system hasn't catered to him, or we haven't found a way to really bring him into that midfield. And but I blame the system because I've said it on this pod before, I've said it on other pods before, and it's not per se being Ange out, but I still believe that Ange's system, whether he parks the bus or whether he plays as more Ange ball kind of, with the inverted full backs and the high line and playing it out from the back, I still believe that the midfielders don't know where they're supposed to stand on the pitch. I believe that the fullbacks don't know where they're supposed to stand, and that's why there's gaps everywhere. And I think also that hasn't played to Basuma's strengths when he's come into a team which is trying to make things happen, with a higher line. So when he's coming now with this deeper line, it's been easier for him because he can kind of sit there, right? Bentancur's kind of sitting there as well. Papsar is kind of sitting there as well. Everyone's doing a bit coming forward. But I think in the final against United, we had one shot on goal, which was the goal, and we had some failed counterattacks, but we didn't really do much else. So again, long story short, I think we have seen the real Basuma, but I would defend him and say though that I think he's not feeling comfortable probably himself in terms of either understanding how he's supposed to play or knowing how he kind of fits into that system. Do you know what I mean? So it's not a simple answer in my perspective, but I think that it's a multitude of factors that mean that he hasn't been effective enough for us overall, let's say.
No, that's definitely very valid, mate, to be honest. And unfortunately, Basuma was the one that sold short yesterday to give away that penalty for Matt O'Reilly to slot home to take it to 3-1. Connor, I will come to you on the last goal, mate, only because of apparently it could be contender for goal of the season. It could only be Spurs, couldn't it, for us to gift someone goal of the season contenders one way or another. Did you see this one from Gomez by any chance, mate?
I didn't see it, but it is typical. We win a European trophy on a Wednesday, and then on the Sunday we've conceded goal of the season and lost 4-1.
It's just written in the stars, isn't it? Spurs can't have anything nice without us being brought down to the level, can we? One way or another.
No, but I did think, going into the game, my expectations weren't high. Even when, you do see the stronger lineup, I still didn't really think we was going to win it. I think Brighton have got more to play for than we do. Our players have been on a bender for the last few days. They're chasing Europe. Did they get it in the end? It was either them or Brentford. No, they didn't, because I think Chelsea would have had to have finished outside of the top 5 for them to have qualified or something like that.
I think they could. I think they could still get it if Chelsea win the Checker Trade Trophy that will be played next week. They will be doing home renovations over the summer. That's how Chelsea will be paying for this trophy. So it will be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, there's definitely an aspect to it where Brighton did have something to play for. We didn't. But you'd still hope for some sort of turn up, wouldn't you? Especially from your first team, even if they have been pretty much puking into an open toilet for the last day and a half. Let's put it that way. So the result did finish 4-1, and we get the lap of honour at the end, or the end of season lap, whatever you want to call it. And people were still sort of happy going on about it, but there was a there was a key moment when the camera pans to Daniel Levy and he don't look happy. So Nige, I'm going to come to you on this one. Do you reckon it's because he's realised that by us finishing 3 places lower than 14th, that he's lost £9 million in revenue, because that's how much placement is worth in the Premier League per spot?
Possibly. Possibly it's the fact that he knows now he's either got to back this manager or sack this manager. You know, Levy has, listen, I'm not Levy's biggest fan, but he has got a big, I'd say, week ahead of him, because for me, whatever happens, a decision needs to be made this week, whether that's keeping Ange and telling us all or getting rid of Ange. One way or another, I think as a fan base, we need to know. But yeah, it was probably the best moment of the whole walk around at the end was when the fans booed Levy.
No, exactly, mate, exactly. And Phillip, I'm going to come to you on this one as well. I know that you're not always the biggest fan of Levy, based on our group chats as well, some little bits as well. Do you think that he was feeling the pressure at that moment when there'd been all the cheers, everything like that, and all the booing? And just to caveat that, Daniel's pre-game message that he put out on socials, signing offers, come on you Spurs, Daniel. Did you read that by any chance as well?
I didn't read that, actually. I just saw I saw his kind of statement that he did,
Yeah.
his longer one, where he was thanking, obviously thanked Ange, and, kind of obviously said we're striving for glory kind of every season, we got there in the end, kind of thing, but obviously didn't say anything else, right, with regards to Ange's future or anything like that. Look, I mean, I've never been Enoch out per se, or rather, I'm not one of those, was it purple and gold, I know kind of guys, right? But mainly because, I mean, because I kind of just see, well, what's the alternative, and like, I think the fact remains we are a well-run club, right? In terms of stability, in terms of the fact that Levy has, I'm not going to, talk about like Levy and Enoch now, but, the fact remains is that Levy has, got us from a position probably only 15 years ago, when Arsenal were kind of winning everything and we weren't even in the Champions League, they had just moved into their new stadium. I remember there was one point in one season where I just honestly kind of confided in a friend and he confided in me, and we kind of said, that's it, we're done. We're never getting to the level of Arsenal again, ever. It's not possible, right? Because of the way that the world's going, the way finances are going, right? We're down. And to be fair to Levy, I've got to give him praise somewhere, right? He's built the club back up, infrastructure-wise, to get us to this point. And we've now got the trophy, but of course there's a million criticisms that you can make of Levy, and I'll also give him a million ones as well. Investing at the right times, investing in the wrong things, and probably not being the most media savvy or fan savvy person either, right? On occasion, doesn't come across very well, does he? He never speaks in the media. He's never open enough. Like he could so easily. He could make it much easier for himself, to be honest, right? Like, to be very simple about it. But he has probably the biggest, the toughest and the biggest decision in some ways now in the next couple of weeks that he's potentially ever had at the club. Obviously, he decided to sack Poch when he did, and he didn't really invest, really, did he, in Poch, right? We can look back and say that was a mistake. He sacked Mourinho before the cup final. That was a mistake. The Conte thing, blah blah blah, right? All of these things, he's made errors. But probably looking at it in another way right now, we're in the Champions League. We've actually made some good signings over the last couple of years, right? We have brought good new players into the club. We've got some world-class players in the club as well, right? We don't have a bad squad. We have all the infrastructure there, and now we have a trophy to get this monkey off our back to increase our world kind of profile. And, we're in the Champions League. So now he finds himself almost in a magical situation, right? That he can kind of actually decide whether to stick with Ange. And then if he does, to invest, and try and take us to the next level, like he didn't do probably after the Champions League final when we lost, right? He could have invested at that point, and he didn't. Now he has that sliding doors moment where he can or he has to. And the question is, does he stick with Ange or doesn't he? So for him, I don't envy him that decision, because there's a lot of fans out there who emotionally are in love with Ange because of what he's achieved for us now with the trophy. And I'm very grateful to Ange as well. I love the fact that we've won this trophy, right? And it's not just a League Cup, by the way, it's the UEFA Cup. It's a big trophy. So I'm in love. I'm in love with that element, and I'm so thankful and so grateful to Ange, and he's a nice guy. But there is that element where he will be considering, is Ange good enough? Does he have the gravitas? Does he have the tactical knowledge? Does he have the ability to improve the quality of a squad and how do you say, like, improve, get the individual players and create a sum,
take them to the next level. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's greater than the parts, right? And can he do that? Can he do that in the Champions League against admittedly better teams? Because we have to probably be a bit honest and say, well, yeah, we won the Europa League, and you can only beat the teams that you face, right? But this was, not to be negative, but this was the first season where no teams from the Champions League came down. Let's be honest here, it was the case.
In all honesty, we can only say that the people that we beat that were probably Champions League quality were Frankfurt and maybe Galatasaray. That was about it. Everyone else is Europa League or Conference League.
Frankfurt was a very good team, right? And, we did well to beat them over two legs. And United probably, Spursy kind of style. I was kind of thinking, well, we've beaten them 3 times this season. We'll probably lose the 4th. But I didn't expect United to be as poor as they were in some ways, right, in the final, to be honest. And we did enough. And respect to Ange for the tactics, right? Respect to Ange for getting the selection right, for picking Richarlison on the left, all these things, right? Big respect. But again, the simple question is, does Levy believe, do we believe, but does Levy believe, and probably Paratici coming in, and also the new CEO, Vinay, who I would imagine is going to be part of the decision because he is going to be the new CEO. Do they believe that Ange is good enough to get us firing on 4 competitions next season on a higher level? And I believe, based on what I've seen and what I've heard, I don't think they do. And whether they're currently waiting to speak with other managers or getting updates from other managers, right? Bearing in mind that the season's just finished, now that we've won a cup as well, we're in the Champions League, the people want to come to us. I think they're hedging their bets. I think they're having discussions. And if they feel that they can get a better manager, then I think they'll do it. If they can't, then I still think there's a chance that they'll stick with Ange. But then the problem is, do you back him then with 150 million? Is Levy prepared to do that? Is Paratici aligned with Ange to do that in terms of the players that, so these are all questions which I think are a very unique situation for us at the moment, and it kind of fits to Tottenham, right? That we have these
and
these
you know
kind of
that
crazy.
Daniel Levy won't answer one of them questions. Honestly,
No,
it will all be done behind closed doors. I believe that if we do decide to stick with Ange, he won't make any announcement about it or anything like that. It will all be, oh, Ange will just turn up back at first team training on the 1st of July in that respect. So, Connor, let me come to you as well, mate, because obviously Phillip's made some very valid points. Do you think that Spurs fans are blinded by this trophy? We're emotionally invested in, we've won this trophy, but it doesn't cover for the fact that we have lost 22 games in the Premier League, plus God knows how many other cup games as well this year in the FA Cup and League Cup. Or do you think that we're there? Because I think our squad's good enough not to be 17th, but I don't know what level we're at. And I feel a lot of people are blinded by it. And this trophy winner's given them blind loyalty to Ange. A lot of Ange outers have changed ship quickly within a week. What's your sort of thoughts on that, mate?
I think I try not to listen to reactionary fans too much. I mean, if you're one thing, I believe that one game, I mean, I get it, it's a trophy, it's a big thing. Shouldn't just completely change your opinion of it, because you're looking at it in the grand scheme of things, 22 defeats, you either want him out or you've got your own reasons for wanting him in. I've always personally been, it might sound strange to some, but I actually like him. He's got something over me, I think. And I've just always had this thing where I want him next season as well, because I don't like the repeated cycle of chopping and changing managers all the time. I also feel...
Don't fancy another project? I mean, how many have we been sold in the last 10 years by Levy?
I don't fancy another project for a little while. I think, to do well, you've got to suffer a little bit, and this season we've suffered, but we've gone and got something. And look at, so without thinking about this season, right, you're looking at next season. You've got Champions League football, you've got prize money that you're going to put into the club again, and obviously we've got a team full of players that have now had a taste of victory under a manager. You don't just rip that manager away from them, because they're all going to be attached to him now. So by ripping that manager away, a lot of the players are going to become disinterested. Well, maybe not disinterested, but a lot of the players are going to, they probably lose a bit of belief, because this is the person that's got them there. They want to be under that manager next season. As you was saying to me earlier before we started the stream, that you've got the likes of Romero. What other names did you say, Kallum?
Romero, Maddison, Kulusevski, all sort of linked. Do you think that's a very valid point you've made there, mate? Because surely if you play for a football club, your loyalty is to the club, not to the manager. Is that the disillusional nature of football these days, where people get too attached? They should be loyal to the club they play for, not the manager who's going to have them on a day-to-day basis.
I think it's 50-50, because when you're first joining a club, one of the first faces you see is the manager. So that's the person that sort of gets you on board. Look at Matisse Tell, who he signed in January. He wasn't going to come, and it wasn't until he spoke to Ange and he had a bit more belief, and he decided to come to the club. And obviously,
imagine if you said that to Jed Spence in that summer when he saw Antonio Conte. I bet that would have gone down completely opposite, like a lead balloon.
Yeah, that was. But that's one signing that I always believe was a club signing. Whereas I feel like Matisse Tell, obviously, the fact that Ange Postecoglou even jumped in, that's somebody that they were getting for him, not necessarily like Jed Spence, where it was more of a need a homegrown player. He's cheap, he's young. That literally fits the Spurs mould entirely. But no, the thing you're saying about blindness, I think for some people it will be. Like I say, I mentioned the word reactionary. It's tough, really, because it all depends on, I think, where people were to begin with the situation.
Yeah, it's been a very mixed and split season, and if we're all honest, I think we've all had good times and we've all had bad times this season. A lot of people have called for his job. A lot of people have gone, no, we don't want to change as well in respect to that. Nige, I'm going to come to you on this one, mate, because there is reported to be meetings this week taking place between squad leadership group, Daniel Levy, the other board members, Donna Cullen, Capelhorn, Matt Calderwall, people like that, and the new CEO and Johan Langer as well. Do you think these meetings will be related to Angie's future or the actual club getting in alignment behind the manager?
It's a difficult one to answer if obviously you're not in there, but it's got to be something to do with Ange, isn't it? Surely. For me, and I've been saying it for a long time now, I'd like to see change. I don't think Ange is the man to take us forward. Yes, he's done fantastically well to get us a Europa League win, and he will have my full respect. You know, he goes down in Tottenham history now, doesn't he, as a manager who's won a European trophy for Tottenham. So for that, he's got my utmost respect. But 22 Premier League defeats, no other team has lost that many games and not gone down. Tottenham are the only team. We have set so many records this season and not good ones. And as much as it's great that we've won a cup, it really is. You know, I was absolutely delighted. I had my son call, 20 years old, never seen us win a trophy. He was 3 when we won the League Cup, ringing me in tears saying, I can't believe we won a trophy. And that was all because of Ange. So for that, like I say, has my full respect. But for me, it's just not good enough. He's just not up to it. He's already admitted that he chucked the league this season because he wanted to focus on Europa when it got closer. Yet at the same time, he had to go at Tottenham fans last season for wanting Spurs to lose against Man City. So you can't have it both ways, Ange. You know, for me, he's got to go, and I would hope that the board are going to make a decision soon. Listen, either way, if we're going to keep him, I know Kallum, you said that you don't think the board are going to come out and say anything. For me as a fan, I would like them to come out and say, right, we are sticking with Ange and we are going to back him. And then as a fan base, we can say, okay, all right, we're sticking with him. We've just got to get behind him. Or they're going to do what they have to do, sack him, and then we can start a new process. I don't think it is going to be like another process because I think we got the basis of a good side there. So yeah, let's see what happens. But I think something needs to be done within the next week or so for sure.
No, that's completely fair. And I mean, a lot of clubs are sort of doing their due diligence at the moment in regards to players coming in, managers changing over. I mean, apparently Marco Silva has taken his name off the table, saying he's going to be looking to stay at Fulham. The front runner seems to be Thomas Frank at the moment. I don't know whether I'm too keen on that idea or not. I think he is a good manager, but whether he's the right one for Spurs, like you said, for the project, is questionable. But Phillip, I'm going to come to you because Nige made a very good point there where Ange said that he was going to focus all of his eggs in one basket onto the Europa League. And if I was Daniel Levy, and admittedly I do look like the bald bastard a little bit on certain days of the week, if I heard that, I'd be thinking, right, I'm getting 100 million from the Europa League to qualify and getting us prize money. But based on like what I said earlier, each placement in the Premier League counts for 3 million. If you could go up 10 places, you'd get another 30 million. So if in all honesty, he'd probably rather win the Europa League and get that placement, because all I'm hearing is 100 million he's getting back, but he's actually down to 70 million already based on placement in the Premier League. What would be your thoughts towards that, mate?
When I heard that, I thought it was a bit of a joke, to be honest. I'm not sure that I believe that, actually, in some respects, that he really did that or kind of said that. I mean, at the end of the day, like, it sounds good now, doesn't it, after we won the cup? But if we'd lost the cup, then it's kind of like, well, you're an absolute idiot. Like, I mean, the way I see it is, if we're being honest, ever since we lost that Chelsea game with 9 men in November, what, more than, no, how long ago is that? More than a year and a half ago, right?
Yeah.
Like literally 1 year and like 10 months or something, right? Our points per game is shocking. You know, it's not just this season, it's like last season as well. You know, the run in last season, I know we finished 5th, but we screwed up Champions League in the end, right? Because our run in was crap. If you look back at the results, we screwed it up. We didn't like play well against the teams. We didn't come up with tactical plans. So my first point is, number one, it's not just because of injuries this season, right? We're like, we've had a bad 16 or 17 months. Apart from those, if you take those first 10, 11 games away when we were, you know, first or second, if you take those away, since then, our points per game ratio is literally relegation form. You know, since then. So it's not just this season, it's since then. And if he's saying that, or if Levy is kind of hearing the words that he basically decided in January, which was after Tamworth, by the way, when we could easily have gone out, you know, and we had players coming back straight after that. Vicario came back, the other players came back. That we kind of we focused on the Europa League. Like, why wouldn't you just still focus on the league? Why wouldn't you then play younger players, or like maybe try and change your way of playing, or like adapt your tactics, or maybe give the coaches more influence or whatever? Like, you can't tell me that like we've gone to the players and kind of said, well, like, I don't know, like we're going to turn up and we're going to, like, how does that even work? I don't get that. I don't really understand that, right? If you're an elite manager, like Premier League level manager or European league manager, to be honest, even if you're a league manager, you know, you don't do that, right? You've got to get your squad and your players bang up for every game. Yeah, you might prioritize some games, but I think even then in January we were playing one Europa League game we were still playing group phase, but then it got to the knockouts, and then we were only playing one knockout game every month or every 3 weeks or something.
Something
So
like that.
why? So yeah, I get you want to keep your players fit, but we got the injuries anyway because we seem to get hammies and all this kind of stuff. And then, well, you can still play to 100% in the league games. So I honestly don't understand that at all. And if I'm being honest, if I was Levy, I'd be like listening to that and saying, this is a joke. Like, Levy cannot be happy with that. And it's not just about the 3 million per place or whatever else, right? Of course, Levy's going to be pissed off at the fact that we're the worst team in the league apart from the relegation teams. We basically got the wooden spoon. You know, we're 4 points even off 16th, right? We're 4 points off 16th.
Mm-hmm.
We're marooned in 17th spot.
Well, let's put it this way, Harry.
Sorry, but like, I mean, let's be honest here. You know, and again, like, I'm very grateful that we won the cup, right? Very grateful, and I didn't expect it, so you know, fat remains, and I'm happy for it, right? Ange goes down as a legend of our club. He goes down as a legendary winning manager of one of the biggest trophies that we've ever won, probably apart from the league, right? The first time in 40 years in Europe, the first trophy since 2008. You know, he's brought us a trophy. We've had a better season than Arsenal. We've had a better season than Chelsea, right? Actually, we've had a better season than most teams, right?
Well, it's all right. The Southampton fans made Arsenal aware of that yesterday in their game. I don't know whether anyone saw that you done worse than Tottenham.
And again, my final point on that though is that you know, this has been the worst season, like league wise, since the relegation season in '77. And probably if you take that one season away out of the equation, then it'd be one of our worst seasons in like 60 years. And with the squad that we have, still, admittedly with injuries and everything else, you cannot be finishing 17th in the league, and you cannot be saying that we didn't give a shit about the league because we went all in on the cup. I know we won it in the end, so that's great. And as I said, Ange can leave with us, or if he stays, whatever, maybe he still stays. He's a legend, right? He goes with his head held high. But you cannot get away with that. You cannot. Like someone said it, wasn't it? Like someone said, like your body of work is over a season, right? In the league.
Mm-hmm.
In any league, in any club season, you play for the league, right? That's where your body of work is. That's where you show how good you are. And if I then bear in mind that pretty much since January, the second half of last season, our points per game was bottom half. Bottom half, if you look at the stats. Like I don't know how you can really justify, oh well, we won a cup, so like we're now winners, right? We're all winners now. So we've brought the winning mentality. So we're going to turn up and we're going to go into next season and we're going to start winning every game. Like this Brighton game now, admittedly, with mitigating circumstances, because they were all pissed, or a load of them were pissed, you still have to turn up for that game. And you still have to then somehow, I don't know, not concede 4 goals again at home and just lose pitifully. Play the youth, man. Where's Ajayi? Why is Ajayi not played? Sorry, I'm just ranting on now, but I don't understand some of the decisions as to why, we haven't maybe given some of these squad members a chance when they've actually played well also in the Europa League, like Ajayi, like Mikey Moore, like the other midfielder, is it Aloisi?
Olasesi, yeah.
Olasesi, sorry, it's XYZ. So again, my summary of that rant is basically, if he stays on, okay, I hope he gets backed.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see enough tactically or like squad management wise as to why you would go all in on Ange and say this guy is going to manage 4 competitions next season at a higher level, and keep integrating youth, and will bring us something else. I think because it's a sliding doors moment again, if you can get a better manager in who actually can build something, maybe with youth as well, and whoever that may be, I don't know, but if you can, then I wouldn't hold it against Levy to do it.
No, that's definitely fair. Right, Connor, I'll bring you in because I know you wanted to jump in. So whether you agree with Phillip or whether you want to counterbalance his rant, because I know that Harry and Andrew want to set fire to Phillip at the moment by the look of it. So are you going to back Phillip? Are you going to have a go at him as well? Because I feel that Phillip's been segregated a little bit and put to the side. What are you going for, mate?
No, I'm going to disagree, because the thing is, the way I see it is, we got to a stage in the league where, also you got to remember we was playing for the Carabao Cup too, so that's another thing that we was playing for, and we very nearly did get to the final, and then unfortunately completely capitulated against Liverpool. But no, I think the thing to remember is that I think that Ange has been hung out to dry, much like many other managers. He only gets a handful of what he really needs, much like every other manager that we've had in the past. And then you get to a stage where the stage we're at now, these guys went out, like Levy, Enoch, they went out, sent people, and they've viewed Ange's football. They know who they're hiring, or you think they should know who they're hiring. And they should also see his injury record. That should be a thing that gets checked. If they know that his football is intense, his training is intense, there's going to be injuries, then you don't hire that manager without giving him the tools he needs to get through a season. So then I get to the bit where, he's, say sacked off the league. What he's done is he's realised there's nothing else to play for in the league. You still go out there, you still try to win your games, but you manage your minutes, you play different players, because there is a chance to give the club glory that we haven't had. I'm not even going to count the League Cup. This is glory that we haven't had for decades. Winning a European trophy, regardless of who it's against, regardless of how easy the run is, it is what it is. In 20, 30 years time, you go back and you look, Tottenham have won a European trophy. You don't go, it was against one of the worst Man United teams ever. They just won a European trophy. That's the end. That's the bottom line. So with that, we also get Champions League qualification. We get prize money. Obviously, I know we missed out on a bit of money because of league places, but We get all that money from winning the Europa League, and then we go into next season. We've done a hard reset, and then we can go again. And I think it would be, in my opinion, I think it would almost be cowardly if you go and sack the manager and bring in someone completely different who hasn't worked with these players, who hasn't got them to this stage where they've become, European winners, and then let that manager take over. I personally think it should be Ange next season. I also believe that the first 10 games of the 23-24 season were almost something you didn't want to happen, because it set a ridiculously high standard for what people expect. People don't remember that we've just lost Harry Kane, the greatest player to play for the club. And they just think it's because we've had a good start to the season, we're going to, that's the standard. That's where we should be. We should have finished, if you told me at the beginning of that season that we was going to finish maybe 8th or 9th, I would have believed you. I would have believed you. But we finished 5th. We qualified for the Europa League, and that's one more competition we had to play. Last season we didn't play Europe, but then we didn't have enough players for this season that were bought in the summer to then go into those competitions. But that's where I stand with it all.
No, that's definitely fair. Nige, I feel that Phillip and Connor have had their say on this. Is there anything you want to add, mate, at all in regards to this and play a bit of devil's advocate, or are you going to back one or the other?
It is really difficult. I am leaning towards Phillip because, listen, I've seen enough over 2 years. I've seen enough of the sample size to say that, for me, Ange isn't the man to take us forward. Like I said earlier, full respect for him for what he's done in Europa League. But in all fairness, I don't want to sound... No, should I say... I think maybe my Sunday League side, the Dog and Duck, maybe could have got to the Europa League final. Let's be honest. It's not the strongest competition. And for me, the bread and butter is Premier League. And 17th, listen, I'm 50. I've never seen Spurs finish that low in the Premier League before.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, he's not the man to take us forward. I'd like to see a change. Doesn't mean I don't respect him for what he's done. Doesn't mean I'm not happy that we won the Europa League. It was an amazing night. And, I'm constantly watching reruns of us lifting the cup. But I want to see my team progress. And if we keep Ange, where are we going?
Mm-hmm.
Where we go? Serious question. Do you guys think that the players are actually playing for Ange? Because I see the likes of Maddison. I know you mentioned Maddison earlier, but for me, Maddison looks fed up with Ange. He gets hauled off all the time. A lot of the time earlier on didn't even play because Kulu would get in before him. So for me, I don't think I think some of the players are playing for him. I certainly don't think all of them are.
No, that is a fair point. And I mean, it does kind of link into 3 questions that I want to ask each of you before we do finish up for tonight. And the questions will be, are you Ange in or Ange out? Will he be the manager next season? And if you are Ange out, who would be your 3rd option to come in to replace him? If you want a couple of minutes to have a think about it, you can. If not, I can go straight in and catch you out on the spot and make it a little bit more fun and more interesting based on it. So, Connor, I'm going to come to you first. So, are you Ange in, Ange out? Will we be the manager next season? And if you're Ange out, who's your preferred replacement?
So after that rant, if I was to go and say I'm Ange out, then it'll be completely random. But no, I'm Ange in. And although it's hard to predict Daniel Levy, I honestly couldn't tell you if I think he's going to be. I'm going to say I think he's going to be the manager next season.
No, that's fair. So I'll adapt the question slightly for you. Will Levy, if he stays, back him or not?
I think he has to. Obviously, this is the strongest season we've had for protests, and I think that if we have another season of no backing and we get all these injuries again, and we've got a really thin squad, it's going to get very rough, and the protests will probably get worse.
No, that's definitely fair. I'll just bring this one out from David Clark quickly, a very good regular to the podcast. Under Levy, Spurs can only challenge for cup competition, trophies, and not league titles. So by that criteria, then Andrew's been a success, so there's no point in getting rid of him. Levy out. Definitely a big call. I will reserve judgment on that because I have to remain neutral on these, or I get a bollocking from Harry at a later date. Right, Phillip, I'm going to come to you on this one, mate. I know you're going to have fun with this. Ange in, Ange out. Is Levy going to keep him or get rid of him? And if you're Ange out, who's your preferred replacement for him, please, sir?
Well, I think you guessed that I am Ange out. Because again, I have nothing against them. I'm very grateful to him. I think he's being, how do you say, the captain of this ship in almost like a perfect storm, right? Where the stars have aligned and he's managed to bring it through. So absolute, well done, mate. Like literally great for everyone. But I think that I am Ange out because now is the chance where you could upgrade. And based on the fact that you finished 17th in the league with 22 defeats, plus the rest of the season before, I think that's a valid reason to actually upgrade your manager, regardless of whether you win a cup final or not. If he loses that cup final on Wednesday, then he would be sacked this week. And I don't think anyone would be that concerned about it, right? So that's the emotional part coming into play. I don't think the winning nature of that makes any impact on our players or on our team next season. So I am Ange out. My desired kind of people to take over. Well, I would have liked Glasner to come in. He would have been my absolute number one manager. I'm a Frankfurt fan here in Germany. It's my second team. I watched Glasner win the Europa League for Frankfurt, right, a couple of seasons ago, which was an even bigger achievement, right? At that time against, in a competition where the Champions League teams came down, right? Frankfurt beat Barcelona, I think, in the Nou Camp, right? In the quarterfinals or in the semi-finals, plus other teams. Milan as well, I think. So, just something to bear in mind. Glasner is an absolute legend. He would have been my number one, but I don't think that we're going to be able to tempt him away from Palace now that they've won the cup. Realistically, I don't know, but I'd be happy with Thomas Frank. I know some fans question whether he's somehow got the kind of the level or something to take us over, but I mean, he's a manager who can build teams out of low salaries, like lower skill players into a unit. He's proven at Brentford that he can build a team that can challenge for Europe with a very low wage budget. He's a very cool guy. He's someone who the fans would love. Like, yeah, he gets the fans behind him, and he can play attacking football. A lot of people think he plays only defensive. No, he can play attacking football as well. He changes it. He analyzes the opponent and changes his style against the opponent. And that's my biggest criticism of Ange, right? That he doesn't genuinely, in the Premier League at least so far, seem to care about who we're playing. So
definitely links in with this comment. Then if Ange stays and continues with Ange in the Premier League, he will fall in his own sword anyway on that. So the final question for you, mate, is do you think he will be our manager next year or not?
I don't think he will. I don't think he will. I think the Levy's gonna do a season review like this week or next week, and I think with Vinay, the new CEO, and with Paratici coming in, right, actually a change in the club, big change. It's a big change, right? Vinay is going to be the new CEO. He's coming in. He's going to change things.
There's a lot of changes behind closed doors, isn't there? So there's a good chance Scott Munn could go, potentially Johan Langer could go. The whole of the medical department's gone. They got their P45 6 months ago. So, I mean, at the moment, we've got the tea lady doing massages in Oxford Way. Let's put it that way.
And remember as well that Scott Munn kind of brought Ange in as well, right? So Scott Munn and Andrew aligned, and they were both singing each other's praises a couple of weeks back. I think there's no doubt that Scott Munn is gone.
Mhm.
So, I think realistically, looking at what's happening in the background, new change, new starts, probably Paratici players being looked at again in the summer, a lot of Italian players possibly. Yeah, I think now that Ange is not going to be the manager next season, but knowing Spurs and knowing Levy and knowing everything, he could be. And if he is, again, my last point, if he is, so be it, right? And I'll be behind him, right? I'm not going to sit here as an Ange outer and say, terrible decision, right? If he's backed, Levy puts the money up for Ange, and Ange gets the opportunity to buy more players that suit him, then let's do it. But
No, definitely.
I think he's on such a short reign because of the 22 defeats, right? That if anything goes wrong, or if he has 3 or 4 games where he doesn't win in the Premier League, and then he loses the Champions League game unexpectedly, well, you know what's going to happen, right? He's going to be straight away in the how do you say, in the target, right? In the shooting line. So
We've sacked people for less. Let's put it that way. Oh,
it's going to be interesting where that happens. It's going to be very interesting in true Tottenham style, right? Either way, it's going to be very interesting.
No, exactly. Right, Nige, as we know, it's never easy with these, mate. And let's put it that way. Same questions for you, mate. Are you Ange in, Ange out? If you're Ange out, who will be your replacement for him? And do you think he will be here next season under Daniel Levy?
I am Ange in. No, I'm not. I'm Ange out. And if I could have a manager, listen, I've been banging the Edin Terzic drum for months and months and months, but seeing Glasner, he's got me. I would love Glasner in charge of Spurs. I think he'd be a great manager for Tottenham, and he's good with media as well. He doesn't lose his cool like Ange does at times. So for me, Glasner 100%, and I think he'd come as well. We're Tottenham Hotspur. Great Palace have won a cup, but we're in the Champions League, so we've got a lot more to offer. I think if we put the offer in, I think Glasner would come. Do I think Ange would be here next season? I think there's a chance, just because he's won the cup. So I'd love Glasner. Whether Ange would go, I'm not sure.
No, that's definitely fair. If anyone in the chat wants to send us their preferred options, if there are replacement managers they want, that'd be interesting as well. Excuse me, Connor. I know you are Ange in, but if Ange was to go this summer, have you got a preferred replacement for him, or have you not really thought about it, mate?
I don't disagree with the guys. I really like Glasner. I'm not sure whether I agree if he would come or not, because if you look at recent years, I think a lot of managers are going to see their chances of staying for more than 2-3 years and not really like it. Obviously, I suppose every manager will back themselves, but I think most people look at the club and be like, "Oh, that is a mess of a football club." They've got everything right in terms of infrastructure, but when it comes to the club itself, there's a lot of problems. So I don't really know, but yeah, I like Glasner. I don't think Terzic is a bad manager either. If you could have a manager, my dream manager would be like Inzaghi. That'd be amazing, but it's just not realistic.
No,
I'm not really sure. I'm not the manager market's not too good at the moment, I don't think.
Yeah, not people who would see Spurs as a step up on a lot of their existing clubs. There's obviously been the names of Ten Hag going about, but he's going to Leverkusen. Xavi has been named, but I think that's a far right approach, to be honest, when it comes to it. As well, Pochettino's going to cost too much money. Glasner, like you guys have said, is a brilliant option, but definitely one that I would like, but I don't think it would happen either. But if we did have any common sense, we'd actually go and nick a load of players from Palace. Gahey, Tyreek Mitchell, Eze, Adam Walton. You solved 4 of your main key issues. there. If Romero goes, you've got a backup left back, you've got another 10 and a front forward. And Adam Walton is fucking quality as well. Let's put it that way. So if you had that, maybe Glasner would do it. But apparently, under Levy, my dream manager would be Mr. Bean. So it probably wouldn't be much far from this shit show that we do have at Spurs at times. But I think that's been a nice, interesting one tonight with a lot of different views. We've balanced both sides on it. For me, I would probably say that I'm probably Ange out more than likely. I think that there is a stepping stone to go forward for him to probably go, thank you very much, I've achieved what I wanted to do, but I don't think the club will back him enough to make him put his football successful enough. I think that's the only reason it will happen. Daniel Levy will probably look at how much he's got to pay him in compensation, and that will dictate how much it will take to replace him and then bring also to get rid of him as well. But no, Glasner, very good option. The only thing with Glasner, playing a back three, Phillip, from watching Frankfurt, didn't he revert between a 3 and a 4 there, I think? So as long as it's not all back five, because we know Spurs can't play a back 5 to save our lives. Let's put it that way. So
he did revert. He prefers a back 3 if he's got the players to play a back 3. He prefers it, but he used to change it up between a 4 and a 3, or a 5 and a 4. So he does change things, but he likes to have kind of wing backs, and then someone like Eze playing as a kind of that Maddison kind of role, right? Like, not really on the wing, but kind of cutting inside or behind. But Glasner, I mean, I think it's a pipe dream now. Unfortunately, he would be my absolute dream manager, and he would fit to Tottenham absolutely. But I think, unfortunately, the cup win there probably has got them. I think he wants to probably do a season in Europe with them. But I think, as Nige said, to be fair though, just last point on that, Nige said that we could get him, and that he probably would come. And actually, I think if we went all out for him, and kind of presented him the project, which I don't like that word. If we presented him the project, right, with enough money and everything else, and then I agree with Nige. I think he would come, but the Palace chairman doesn't. I don't think he likes us very much, and I could see it all getting a bit messy and being very drawn out, and I'm not sure that really fits into what we want to do. The only thing, of course, is whether you wait another season for someone like Glasner, right? And then you kind of give Ange another season, right? Give him the rest of his contract. But there is a question probably for another day.
There is a magic man across the pond that's sitting out there that we all do love. Well, a lot of us love, who did give us many wonderful years. He is a national team coach at the moment. He does cost a hell of a lot of money, though, to get him. So there is still the outside chance of that, potentially, if you do hold on for another year. But that's another name for another show. So thank you. Oh, one day we can hope. But thank you so much to you guys tonight. It has actually been a nice, interesting, balanced show tonight, to be honest. I'm glad we didn't cover Brighton that much, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. This has been a more interesting topic, I think, for at least myself. I don't know whether it's been for you guys, but everyone in the chat seems to have enjoyed and interacted with it. So thank you very much for you guys coming on tonight. So, Nige, where can everyone find your content, please, mate? And where can everyone find you on socials?
You can find me on YouTube, Nige at Pure Coys. You can find me on TikTok as well, Nige at Pure Coys, and on Twitter as well, Nige at Pure Coys.
No, that's brilliant, mate. Thank you very much for coming on. You're always welcome. And Phillip, a regular with me and Harry on the shows, I know a lot of the time now, so I really appreciate all your views and time tonight. So where can everyone find your stuff, please, mate?
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. Pleasure as always. I'm mainly on X, on Twitter, at Frankfurt Spurs. I'm going to start doing a bit more YouTubing moving forward as well, I think, into next season. But yeah, and now it's pretty much X or Twitter, whatever, at Frankfurt Spurs.
No, brilliant, mate. Thank you very much. That's a pleasure. And Connor, another regular with myself and Harry as well, mate. So thanks for coming on. Where can everyone find you on socials and all of your stuff as well?
Yeah, thanks for having me. You can find me on Twitter under Hotspur Things.
Lovely, brilliant. And don't forget to go and like and subscribe to Scarfey Spurs Talks. Harry will be back soon once he's finished his exams. Once he finishes exams, I think I've earned a long holiday after this. I think I must be on about podcast number 12 or 13 in the last weeks as well. So if anyone wants to go and check out any of my stuff, it's Kallum Stubbs 97 on Twitter, Park Lane Podcast, 7 o'clock. I will be back on this Wednesday as well for the final Premier League show, covering all of that, and I will have Barney and Bailey with me as well, doing our final review of game week 38. So if anyone's got any questions, anything like that, send them in and we'll be happy to cover that. But obviously, thanks very much to everyone for this season, this year. We will have transfer content coming out. We'll have daily shorts as well. I'm sure we'll have more manager debates as well. And hopefully, if there are any meetings this week, if sources are to be believed, we may know whether Postecoglou will be our manager going forward, whether someone else turns up, whether the CEO has brought back Paratici, whether Scott Munn is back on his bike, like where he belongs as well. So obviously, a big thank you to everyone. A big thank you to Harry for letting us come on tonight, and a big come on you Spurs.